there, it's me, Necrid, who is still stuck in LA. Which means I won't really get to work on all the details or even just cover Act 3 until I get back home tomorrow. However, until then, I got a chance to talk to Christian Linke, who is the co-creator of Arcane. And we got to talk about some really important topics, so if you're wondering what's really happening with someone like Camille as Arcane is happening, this long stream might be interesting for you. As well as the fact that the one scene with Caitlyn and Vi we got was originally supposed to be longer. But anyway, as I mentioned, we will get back on the normal videos the moment I get back. So now, just enjoy this really long talk about some really interesting topics.
So yes, right now we're developing the follow-up projects, and you know, we're exploring a bunch of directions. I mean, when you work on something for 9 years, like it's pretty normal and pretty expected that you're gonna have ideas for other stories. You know, there's many characters. Like every League player, if you play the game for like 14 years, 15 years, you're gonna have your phases where you fall in love with a certain champion, right? And for us, it's like we can just look back and go like, oh, which one would be cool to get a story? So we're really going wide. We're looking at every region. We really, now have the ability to really focus on building like a slate to tell many more stories, continue some of them. We're far from done. I mean, this is right now a really exciting time for everyone, for us, because we can finally like really focus, on like, okay, what's next?
I mean, Riot acquired a part of Fortiche, right?
Yeah.
Are they now the majority stakeholder? I don't know if it's stake, but
No, Fortiche always wanted to kind of like retain like their own, I don't know, identity and culture. And like they're a studio full of artists, truly.
Right.
Like, and so I think that was always something where like they really want to retain like their own kind of idea of who they are, but I mean we're super close. I mean, I consider the founders and the directors like some of my best friends, closest friends, and so just excited for what we'll do.
So the main, like, after also people should be aware, spoilers, people probably wouldn't know. So the main feedback that's out there right now is Arcane, really amazing show, 10 out of 10. Like I've don't really like especially episode 9 is kind of a payoff for everything that kind of like was set up before. Mm-hmm. There is one kind of feedback is that some parts of the show probably should have had a little bit more time.
Sure.
Where some of the setups didn't have enough time to like really get to the point where they are like really blooming properly. That's like one kind of feedback. Yeah. And the other kind of feedback is, again, isolated, Arcane, amazing. But what's the implication for like the greater world, or like how much? Like now there is a lot of things. Like people are wondering about Swain. People are wondering about like Singed. Like there's supposed to be something happening with Ionia. So how much is the team aware of like where the story is heading and like how much it changed what was there before?
Yes. Look, part of the challenge for us is that a lot of the lore has been created over 14, 15 years by different people, different teams, and now you go, okay, some of the, a lot of the lore for champions was like, is created in isolation,
right?
I mean, Orianna is a good example, we're like, really cool story, Rayla, I mean, I like her writing, she's a friend, but it kind of depends, like what excites us is when champions meet. Yeah. And when champions interact, right? And the world shouldn't feel small. It should feel like it's a living, breathing, real world, and then everyone has their own kind of story, but they do interact and influence each other. And so that's our job, is like to bring things together. Yes, the team knows where things are going, but one of the, it's not just us being like, oh, what can we do that's cool? A big part also is like, how do we respect what is there? Mm-hmm. Figure out like what is the truth of the characters we need to respect. What do people love about the champions, about the lore, that kind of stuff. And another part, which I'll speak to, which for me personally is sometimes a bit scary, is that when you make something like Arcane, suddenly what you're doing is not just for this like League audience or even gaming audience. Suddenly it needs to stand tall next to Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, Marvel, Star Wars, like. And so, to be really honest and also as like a true gamer, like there's some stuff in gaming IPs that sometimes just don't cut it.
Right.
You know,
right.
Or like, and sometimes that's as simple as like a visual design, or sometimes just also like what do you do with the story, you know. So it's a delicate balance. We don't want to just bulldoze things, you know.
So I kind of want to ask you something, but I'm pretty sure you cannot answer that. So when you were working on Arcane, did you take into consideration stuff like Blitzcrank or Camille? Do you have like at least like a headcanon of like what's happening with those characters?
Yes. There was a story for an involvement for Blitzcrank. I think I was convinced by the rest of the team that I was being too silly. You know.
So like because like now that Hextech has a totally different origin.
Yeah.
You're telling me you can still pull off something like Camille?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, it's Hextech. I mean, still exists, right?
Right.
And so
that's one big question because people always keep asking, like, you know, is Hextech gone now?
No.
I mean, Arcane was destroyed.
No. The Hex core, that's a different question, right? Hextech still exists. I mean, that's like the question is now like, can Piltover keep a lid on it? You know?
Right.
And obviously, of course, you had these brilliant minds that really were at the forefront of it. You know? Jayce and Viktor and you know, Jinx. That is a big question. But yeah, I mean, of course, you know, that is still something. Look, we want to. On one side, people are saying like, there's too much going on. On the other side, why aren't there more characters that also need to have a full story? You know, it's like, I wish time was not a consideration. You know, with animation, that is one of the hardest things. The economy is much more strict than anything in live action, you know?
Right.
Like, if you're in the same location, you add another scene, that costs money, but it's like not a behemoth, and like in Arcane, every minute matters. So it's an unfortunate reality.
See, someone asked if Heimerdinger can respawn because you know, like probably needs more screen time, you know.
Look, Heimerdinger is my favorite champion personally. I'm not done with Heimerdinger.
It makes sense. There is like theory because so let's do a quick recap, right? Of like characters who are potentially dead, but don't really have to be, because I think the first one was Heimerdinger who like disappeared, but he didn't die. It was like, you know, there's the time anomaly, boop, he's gone. So he can be in a separate timeline. Also, Yordles are weird. I can imagine that if the Arcane explodes, it can like suck in essentially like a Yordle essence and like the magic is like locked in it. I can imagine that. Then there was Jayce and Viktor. In theory, if they were like again like sucked into like Cosmos using Viktor's, you know, tap into Arcane, Viktor can be turned into like a celestial being now in theory. Jayce might be dead. I'm not sure about that, but you know, but like you can, if you really wanted to, there are times you can bring those characters back still. Jinx, I doubt is dead. I'm not gonna. I know you can't say anything. I doubt that. There's a lot of theories that can kind of prove that otherwise. Ambessa probably dead. There's no way. Ambessa, I think, is locked in. She's dead. I'm not sure if there was anyone else. So like you essentially got a pentakill. From that pentakill, 4 of them can be alive. Ambessa's dead. I think Ambessa's gone. But yeah, I don't even know what the point was now. Oh yeah, no, Warwick. No, yeah, it is a pentakill. No, it's a double kill now at least with Ambessa and Warwick. Warwick. See, when I think it might happen, it is possible if Warwick is like torn to shreds somewhere down there. Singed can still pick him up, turn him into like the wolf that he's gonna be in game, or maybe we don't know now. Yeah, I don't know what the point was. What was the point? I don't even know. But yeah, you know, plot armor, not really a thing in Arcane. I also remember the first time when we talked we had a quick chat when the original premiere of Season 1 came out. I remember one of my questions was like, you know, League of Legends, partially a game for kids, it's like PG-13 or something like that, you know. How much are you afraid of like showing blood? So,
well, I hope I answered that.
I think you said like, yeah, you know, we want to be respectful.
That was actually really hard because there was like, so first of all, like it's so complex because, and which I don't understand, well, I mean, I do understand. Every country has a different rating system.
Yeah.
So like,
no cigar for graves.
in some countries, but so like, it was wild. When we made the first season, it was like, oh, okay, so there's gonna be like 17 different ways of how certain things are allowed or not allowed. You know, like specific kind of countries, you know, histories, you know, like in whatever, in England you had like a lot of like knife crime, and that created very specific things. In Germany there's like much more strict on smoking, and then but other stuff's okay. In France everything goes because France. And so like every country had a different rating, and so but the problem was the ratings often say, okay, if you're advertising or you're connecting to a game, the rating of Arcane will affect the rating of League.
Right.
So we may actually like legally lose a certain part of our audience if we go too far with Arcane. So we try to go.
Do you not think you went too far in some scenes?
Look, we have our rating, and that's all I need to. That's all I need to care about.
Okay. Was it officially rated?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Did they see the Caitlyn and Jayce scene?
Yes, they did.
That went for.
This is the dialed back version. This is the dialed back.
Whoa! It was longer.
Yes.
Because I was like, this is going for a while. Oh, it's still going. Oh, it's still going. And it went for quite a while. So you were telling me originally there was more.
Yes.
Okay.
We got a slap on the wrist for like, all right, your League of Legends is gonna be.
Will you ever show? Will you ever show the original pitch? There is a really cool fandom that would probably like that.
Probably on some French hard drive that is.
That is not getting hacked now. Yeah. yeah, people like that.
Director's cut,
See, there's Chibin, a French animator also. I saw him. Yeah. Well, he's aware. They're very French.
Yeah.
Where do I go from this? So you did have a lot of side characters that had really cool death scenes. For example, how did you say it? So were you watching the feedback from like the acts as they were coming out for like people like begging like, you know, Isha's dead or Isha's not dead, and there was like a massive war about that, and I was just sitting here like, Isha was used as an excellent tool to bring Jinx back to senses, but at the end, Jinx is still kind of mad. To me, it was obvious she has to die, but like, I'm trying to think. Was there a side character that like didn't die? Hold on.
That's a good question.
Because Clagger, Milo, dead. Loris, dead. Actually, the entire Caitlyn squad is dead. Maddie, one of the best death scenes. Maddie was excellent.
Step didn't die.
Oh yeah, he got choked, but he survived.
Yeah.
On the grave.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Maddie, you know.
So,
you tell me if that one is.
So actually, how
recoverable.
Yeah. So how did actually? So when Arcane was originally came out, were you making it with the idea that it wasn't canon?
To be honest, when we started Arcane, we were really on an island. Look, we always set out to tell the story of these champions. Period. Like it's just that. I think the company wasn't ready yet to say like, hey, we have these massive games that we're gonna like now, you know, potentially change or risk the direction of the IP on something we don't even know. And I agree with that, by the way. Like we didn't know. Arcane was the first on so many levels for us as people, for like this kind of adaptation. We just needed to like prove that like this is good. You know, and like that we can do this, and so like, I mean, but we've always created this as like these are the stories of Vi and Jinx and Jayce and Victor and Caitlyn. Like these are their stories. So yes, I mean there are canon. It's just we had to grow the confidence, just as you know.
Right, but in the middle of that, like now there was the call like, all right, everything that comes from Runeterra is canon, which means like Arcane was now included.
Yeah.
Has that affected the storytelling in the middle of like you writing it?
Sorry,
so because at the beginning Arcane was like, you know, maybe canon, maybe not. It's like, you know, we just want to tell a good story, and then there was like a hard like lock in. Now it's canon.
Yeah.
Has that changed any of the storylines?
It hasn't changed the storylines. I think I think we definitely try to just be more aware of like what does that mean for the different expressions for the games, you know, for other things we want to do, but not really.
All right. So Okay, next thing I want to touch on is, like, when you have a look at the details that are in Arcane, how much of that is your input? How much of it is just Fortiche having fun?
I would say most of it, like, comes from our team in LA because we just know the game best, but there are always the things where, there's a lot of League players among Fortiche. In fact, I remember a moment once I was walking through the floor at Fortiche, and I walked up and it was like late in the evening, and there was a bunch of people, and I saw that they were playing League, but they like all tabbed out of the game because they were like, oh, we're supposed to be working. But I was like, guys, like, don't, like, this is great. Like, this is just, it'll make you better in your job, and you'll recognize these opportunities when you work around this stuff. So there's a lot of passion for the game. There's a lot of League players at Fortiche, and so they have also ideas where, like, you know, they find Easter eggs, and sometimes they like then just like do something that's too off the wall. But it's yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say it's like 70% us and 30% Fortiche having ideas, and then we talk about it.
Okay,
I agree. Yeah.
I saw someone ask about the Void. Do you want to touch on that? How much was the Void included in this story?
Well, yeah, I don't want to say too much because it'll, you know, we want to make that part of the story. I will say that certainly when people in Piltover and Zaun and like Hextech happens, right, and Jayce and Viktor invent this amazing technology, a little bit like how they're not fully, by the way, yes, I'm Christian Linke.
Yeah. Should be obvious. Come on, guys.
Don't you recognize the wonderful hat?
Yeah.
My face under this wonderful hat. So they really didn't understand like what powerful technology they created and what that means for like what other, like Noxus showing up, Piltover was kind of like caught off guard. They don't. Right. That's not really on their radar because they don't really they're not really part of world politics, right? So similarly, what they're also doing with Hextech and like the use of like there was massive amounts of the arcane and Hextech kind of being used in these two seasons, and so there is a connection between, you know, the arcane and the void. But that people in Piltover and Zaun they don't know what the void is, right? You know, so yeah. At this point,
I mean, yeah. I also saw just like someone freak out. So you know, champions canonically die now. Yes, pretty much, right? Yes.
Look, I mean, you want real stories or not? You know.
Yeah. Also, someone asked about Seraphine. That's a good one. I'm not sure if you really thought about that one. How many champions did you take into consideration when you were doing this? Because like, I mean,
all of them.
Because it's massive.
Yeah, honestly, all of them. It's just do they have a natural way to be part of the story? Because I just also think like there's time. Like there's different eras in every region, you know. So this is really like the origin story of Hextech and kind of and the people that are connected to it and the people that are kind of stuck in this era. You know. Camille and also to me Seraphine is just that's like a, you know, the next generation.
Okay. Also, there was one thing that people pointed out, which is interesting. Swain kind of drops in, or rather the Raven, right?
Yes.
Kind of like drops in.
Some sort of Noxian Raven drops in and people, strangely has a number of eyes. Yes.
And people were like, all right, so how does the timeline work now? Because in theory, Swain is supposed to get the power after the invasion of Ionia.
Yeah. But
usually, originally it was Singed who created the weapons for the Noxians to invade Ionia. Yeah. Which, sure, if it gets retconned, it might be someone else who made the weapons now, or maybe it does end up being Singed eventually. But like, people are concerned that like, you know, now that we saw the Raven, it means that the invasion is over.
Of Ionia?
Yeah, that's the implication. I can probably explain it still using my theories and like, you know, just if I really want to, I can justify the bird being there even before like the invasion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so first of all, it really there's a few different things to that, right? One is Swain. Yes, like, you know, he makes the. I don't know how much you want to talk about the stories you want to tell. Okay. But it depends on like how much time you think passes in between these. You know, the point from when Swain returns from the invasion and makes this deal, you know, with the pact with the demon, to the point when he's like, the things unfold with Darkwill and everything. Like, how much time is that?
Right.
That makes a difference, right? Are we past that point? Is it kind of in between? So I think there's a lot to consider here because what's so interesting about someone who could be connected to these ravens, which may or may not be someone,
right.
is that I mean, what I find really cool about Swain is that he is, in his previous life, he was just a really smart, really prolific military leader, right? And you just have to think about how much did he really know about the history of magic, the arcane in Runeterra, and what happened in these previous wars, the Rune Wars. Suddenly he has this additional knowledge, from a demon who's old, who knows a lot about what powers are slumbering in the world, and so there is a certain amount of someone like Swain will do his homework before he really kicks some big steps loose, right?
Right.
So I think that's really exciting because there is a shrewdness, and a Machiavellian view of the world that I think is gonna be awesome to explore someday, maybe not.
So can you confirm the timeline for Piltover, or is it too much?
As in
in relation to what's happening around Runeterra.
I mean, I don't know. Not really yet. We're definitely thinking about the whole concept. I mean, that's also why obviously we're introducing the show, right? But I guess I'll leave it there.
Okay, sure. I saw a question.
Cryptic, I know, but
No, it makes sense. Things are being worked at. I mean, even Trindam here confirmed that there's gonna be more things. Okay.
Yeah.
Piano guy is Jin. I strongly doubt it. I don't know. Do you want to talk about that one? Was it just a little cameo that happened? Because originally in season 1, you used, I believe, the director of the score for a cameo.
Director
Am I right?
Of the score? What do you mean?
There was a director of, and I don't know, some audio side of Arcane.
Yeah.
Was put in as a cameo. He was a guy playing at the opera, different instruments and stuff like that. People originally thought that Jin was in Act 1, but that was a cameo.
I'm trying to think which one that was.
That was a cameo.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Audio director? Who was that?
I can probably, if I really wanted to, I could probably just pull out.
It's sometimes. Oh, you mean the Ray thing, the violinist?
Yes. Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, that was
Okay.
Ray. Who is also a friend of the team. It's funny. I was like, Ray, do you want to be a absolute psychopath?
Oh, yeah.
He was like, sign me up.
But now the piano guy, is it also a reference or not?
Who knows?
Okay, sure. Okay, very cryptic. Yes, we are reading chat, by the way. There is a lot of people who asked about Warwick.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Arcane is still paying attention to making sure that the characters are close to what we can see in the game, so the fandom doesn't freak out.
Yeah.
With Warwick,
Yeah.
that was a big change visually from the character that we know in the game.
Yeah.
Was it intentional? Was there thought given behind that? What's the process there?
The process really was that for the emotional connection, for the story that really matters to us on the character side, we wanted to see enough of Vander, and really still recognize there is still part of that human inside. We're playing a little bit also how with Jinx, we sometimes really play with the proportions around how much of power you can recognize in certain moments, certain scenes actually. And so it was something where we kind of the artistic license, I suppose, that we needed to make sure that we still connected to the proportions and some of the features, the visual features of Vander, that you kind of there's just enough of him left,
Right.
Yeah.
I saw a really good question about Ziggs. Was Isha based on Ziggs? Actually, what was the thought process behind the hat? Because people are oh, that's an obvious Teemo reference, and I'm just sitting here yeah, possibly, but also.
Well, it was inspired by the past story of, kind of there's a lot of underground mining industry in Zaun.
Yeah, okay,
so,
yeah.
you know, that's really where it came from. And yeah, I mean, there's some other references, I suppose, that one could see there, you know, but this is really where it was rooted. She's a child of Zaun.
Right.
You know?
Oh yeah, hold on, that's a fun one. In the alternative universe, where you had like everyone alive, everyone happy, without Hextech, there was Silco and his eye was fixed.
Yeah.
Is it just good medicine, or like, how does that work? Because normally, you know, usually he would be fixed using Shimmer.
Yeah.
But that
was
was
yeah. So the idea really is that in that world, there was really like more of a symbiosis between Piltover and Zaun. You see, like, you know, certain, you know, enforcers, you know, that you wouldn't really just see hang out with, you know, all Zaun eyes like that happened in the world. And so there's just more access to that and just more symbiosis between the technologies, you know. Yeah.
Okay. People also asking about Twitch. Was Twitch intended there? But it's like right now, honestly, it does not make sense for you to not turn Twitch, the rat, into the original experiment, right?
Look, it has crossed our minds.
Okay.
We just never really.
So originally it was not intended. It was kind of like just an experiment, and then you were like, "Yep, maybe it makes sense."
We actually like we made the pilot, and then we were like, you know, this would make sense. But, you know, I mean, we had a different story to tell.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
I mean, it's the same as Zach. Everyone is like, Zach, probably somewhere in Sync's green goop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Look, there is always like, there's so many parts where you constantly go like, I really would love to learn more about the chem-barons and their industries.
Yeah.
I would love to go.
Oh yeah, Renata. I mean, Renata is a big one that people are like, because Renata, so originally, Silco was supposed to be in League, or they were trying. Yeah. Then they made the model and they tried the gameplay and they're like, well, Silco doesn't really work. So we need another Baron that's kind of like a similar vibe, but it's like more aggressive. We're gonna make Renata. But now, chem-barons are essentially gone, but they can be replaced by someone else. So is the idea that like maybe in the future Renata's gonna like come in after like the other barons are
I would
gone?
imagine. Look, I mean, the industries in Zaun, like there's always gonna be leaders, chem-barons. There's also a generational thing, you know.
Right.
And so I mean, for me, Renata is like someone that comes from, you know, like related to one of the chem-barons and is someone who kind of comes from understanding what that underground looks like, and that power vacuum especially, you know, that is created after, you know, a lot of the established structure, you know, through Silco also disappears, creates a huge, you know, power vacuum where some people will have a certain incentive to say, yeah, let's try to figure out, let's coexist more with Piltover, but other people will be like, fuck that, you know?
Well, I'm gonna boost the microphone just a little bit more. Can you explain? Because there's a lot of people who are. I'm gonna double that. If it's too much, tell me in chat. Hold on, I'm gonna try that. Is it fine? Should be better.
Looks fine.
Yep.
So far.
Yep. We're not in red. We're good. So, can you explain the Arcane? Like a very like, you know, if there's someone who like watches it and there's like the space goop happening and they have no idea what's happening.
Space goop?
Yep. Can you explain the space goop?
The Arcane, I mean, the Arcane really is like, our version of magic.
Okay.
You know? So are you talking about like...
How did it like, does it originate from Hextech? Or is there like,
No, I mean, the Arcane really is like, so all of our regions in our IP have a relationship with magic.
Right.
You know? It's a little bit like, you know, many different regions in our world have like, you know, kind of their interpretation of version, you know, no matter if it's religion or if it's certain kind of historical events, you know. So to me, like, the Arcane is like, you know, one kind of viewpoint interpretation of magic, you know. And so I think that's also what makes Runeterra so interesting. Every region, every nation has like some sort of relationship with that, right? And in some cases even like destroy it, you know, and others are like weaponize it, others are like deny the existence, others are like be in harmony with it, you know. And Piltover, it's like kind of commodify it, and so I think that's really interesting. But the Arcane really is like when these characters talk about, you know, you know, magic that they experience in the world, that is the Arcane.
So under the right circumstances, it can be theoretically recreated.
Well, I mean, it is. Well, yes, I would say in Hextech taps into it, right? Like it utilizes it. But in certain parts, like certain we know from RIP that like some individuals are born with it. I mean, even Arcane. But there is a way. Like that's what's the scary thing about like Hextech is like it commodifies something that there is a natural balance beforehand where only certain people, or individuals are born with it, not everybody. And suddenly the idea is like everyone could carry it is pretty scary.
Right.
Especially for people who are special because they have it, right? So, yeah.
I saw people also asking about Viktor.
Yeah.
And like, what is he now? Because in my assumption is like, really powerful mage that can like tap into the arcane, which is unusual because people usually don't get to that level.
Yeah.
I guess that's it, right?
Yeah. It is a question that is fun to talk about. I would say it's too early. Mm-hmm. Look, but what's different about Viktor is the hex core, right? He took things further to a point where, a lot of what Jayce has done in the beginning is like single function inventions in many ways, right? Or like a specific kind of, utility of the Arcane through like specific runes he's used. The hex core is a different thing,
right?
Much more powerful, and so. I mean, I guess I'll leave it there.
Yeah. There's a lot of people still asking if Jinx is alive. I mean, it's up in the air. Okay, up in the air.
Figure it out.
Also, people are still asking if Arcane is canon. I think that's pretty much confirmed that it is canon.
Yeah.
Also, does the team have? I don't know if that's like you who sees into that. Is there a plan to address the other champions, like make them in line? Because like. As I believe Act 2 dropped, we saw an update to like the bio of the champions who are in Arcane.
Yeah.
Do you know if there is a plan to like bring everyone up to par with Arcane?
I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. Do you want? Hold on. I'm gonna grab some stuff. Do you want to talk about the time loop? Because people really want to know probably like what was the thought behind that? Like where did
also something I'm happy to talk about. I think is like a day after these episodes come out.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
not time loop. There was another thing I wanted to ask. What was that? Someone's gonna really bring up a clear question probably. Also, yeah, people are asking.
Your chat moves pretty fast.
I'm not used to that usually. Usually, I have like my 300 people. We are at 7,000. Yeah. That's Mel and LeBlanc, freaking people are just spitting out different names. You know what? Pick a champion if you want. Oh, Urgot. Urgot is a good one. Did you give that any consideration?
Yes. Yeah. I guess not yet. He wasn't part of the story. I do think Urgot is a really interesting one, especially with. I think like what's one of the most interesting parts about Zaun is like body augmentations. And just like the whole idea of like, I think Piltover, people are generally afraid of like meddling with human life and human bodies,
Yeah, makes sense.
And Zaun is like, fuck it, if it makes life better, So I think I'm really interested in like seeing more of that, and there's an ingenuity, that lives in Zaun that I think is really exciting.
That was a really good question. Was Rise originally a bait? Like, did you know that people would be like, the mage is Rise?
We did know that would be a consideration, and so we were happy with the misdirect. Let's just say
that was really good. I mean, Arcane is really good at misdirects. Also, one really popular character that keeps appearing is. In the original trailer, there were like some characters and scenes that didn't make it into Arcane.
Yeah.
Was there like significant cut content that was supposed to make it?
In the pilot, so that the famous man with the hat.
Yeah.
He was actually part of. So you have the scene with when Vander talks to Jules and Vern in the last drop in the beginning, and in the original pilot. That was actually a pretty long scene where he basically you know, they're actually pressuring Huck into like accepting a bad deal. And he sits down and basically is like, hey, let me tell you a little story about someone who tried to do something similar. Right? He was this guy who thought he's some kind of, you know, edgy guy, comes along, and before he knows it, he loses a few limbs. You know, and so I was like, okay, you know, so just so you know. And so eventually, I think there was like some kind of version where like people were just like, okay, how does this, you know, I think for League players, I think there's a desire to just kind of like see every detail and learn about all these things. And I really liked the scene. It kind of ended up on the editorial chopping block. You know, we kind of had to find like the structure of the pilot. But that was that.
Were there any details that no one found? That were like any like big misdirects or anything like big that you were trying to hide in?
I'm trying to think.
And you hit it a little bit too well.
I'm trying to think. It's the first seasons, like the episodes are there. It's been so many years since we worked on them. I'm trying to think. Probably. I need to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably.
Was Zeri actually taken into consideration? I mean, it's the same question, you know, going back. It's the same question where like, you know, everyone was taken into consideration, but now people are like, you know, Jinx and Ekko together.
Yeah.
Later, Ekko meets Zeri. I'm gonna assume that the ship of Zeri Ekko is gonna crumble real hard now, probably.
Honestly, I personally haven't gone there yet in my head, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So was the time bomb ship pretty much locked in from the beginning?
I think what we talked about was that Ekko stepping into season 2 has really like he's really like a champion of Zaun, you know, and like the potential that Zaun has, and we always loved the idea of showing what Zaun can be, showing Ekko what Zaun can be, and having this moment where he kind of finds his spirit again. And so, you know, I think what's so cool about Ekko and Jinx is that when he tries to convince Jinx that there's like a different, that there is a version of power of her that is so different, you know, and that like is a whole more complete person, and he's seen it. It's not like some theory or him trying to convince her. I think she can feel that when he's like, that version of powder exists, right? You know, and so I think that's really beautiful, and it really also was Ekko what Ekko needed, you know, to kind of see like powder is such an amazing example of what Zaun can be, you know, and I think that's like worth kind of continuing, you know, their story for.
Right. See, I wanted to dive into also Orianna. How much thought process was there behind like the inventions and like the technology that Singed is using? Because what I usually do, I go frame by frame, I look at the gadgets, and I'm like, this is probably how they work, and you know, this is what's really happening. Yeah. I haven't actually seen, because we saw it live, I don't know if I can probably just like find the episode somewhere. Because at the end, at the end of episode 9, there is a scene where, where I believe Singed is extracting Vander, and I believe I want to find if I can find the exact scene, because there's like there's like the black goop that goes into Vander, which like overrides Vander. Essentially, Vander is dead from that point on. Like he's overridden by Viktor. Yeah. And I think there was the other liquid. It went so quickly on stream, and I was like, what if it's possible that Sky is now in Orianna, and that's why she's alive now? Is there like how much thought is given into like that entire process, like the science behind this?
So, what we thought was really interesting about Singed is, he was an extremely successful and influential. What's going on?
I'm just
they're mods.
What's happening? Did something happen? Whatever. Someone's spamming something. Doesn't matter.
Okay. what was that? So what's interesting about Singed is that he was, you know, a scientist, you know, at the academy, you know, a colleague of Heimerdinger. But when he starts to,
that's his main thing. People are having fun now. You know what? Hold on. I can do
too much fun.
How do you slash on a keyboard? English keyboard. What's the English keyboard?
It should be down there.
You know what?
Can you make one of us a mod?
Shut down! I can. Which one? Just give me your name.
Riot's from Games.
Can you spell that for me?
There it is. Now people have lost their voices because of one.
Yeah, there you go. One, yeah, exactly. One had a.
And this is why we can't have nice.
Can you come here and type it?
It's Riot, swim bananas.
Oh, swim bananas.
I guess I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
What's interesting about Singed is that, you know, as a
spelling
scientist,
Is the spelling right? I don't know how many N's are in banana. I don't know. I'm European. Come on.
that looks right. Let's see what happens.
Are you modded now? Yeah. Okay, there you go. You know what, people? You're getting unleashed.
Really? I don't know.
No, because they're gonna immediately get banned. So.
I see.
It's on you.
Okay. The hammer is.
That's it. See what they were posting is probably they were asking about. You know what they were asking about with that? About Viktor and Jayce.
Yeah.
Was there ever a ship?
It's funny that is the conversation, because we actually started Arcane with them saying, you know, it's for us it was like, it's strange that people say that the only close relationship that two men could have is to be a couple, you know, and like these really close like friendships and like brotherhoods, if you will, and like really being there for each other, is something that was just something where like that was actually really important for us to explore. You know, it's like it's like, it seems like there's like no other version, you know, for some fans to say like, hey, like there must be romance. You know, we're like, hey, like these relationships can be really layered and really complex. You know, I think there is some kind of, there is a love between them.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
I just don't think it's romantic. You know.
Okay, sure. There's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be very like either disappointed or very excited.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I understand that, but like they're human, and humans are really complex, right? Like these things are really, really.
What about Milo and Clagger? There was one scene where I was like,
I don't know where that came from.
There are implications that can be made in the alternative universe.
I mean, I guess in that sense, anything's possible.
Okay, sure. Is there? I have a fun thing that I want to do. So, you know what we're gonna do it for now. So, as people may know, I am now a proud owner of the Pentakill guitar. Okay? I am now a proud owner of the Pentakill guitar, which was sent to me by you. The story behind it is funny. I was at the studio. You were like, here we have a guitar that we used for Pentakill. We're not really using it. To which I asked, can I have that?
Yeah.
And you were like, yep. And that's literally it, right? So, as a gift bag, just so people like don't think that I'm just like getting stuff from Riot just because, right?
To be fair, that was selfish of us because we wanted to get rid of that.
Okay. You would have thrown it away.
Yes.
So I want to present you what might be legitimately the rarest instrument you own.
What?
This is from a region in the Czech Republic called Hotsko. This is called fanfrnoch. It is a very special drum. It is supposed to be horsetail normally. The thing is, you can't really export like animal parts across the border, so like, you know, it's nylon, I think. It might be a horsetail, to be fair. No one checked it, so if it is true. So what's so special about this instrument is that there is literally a single living human being that's making these.
Wow.
It is an 85-year-old man in the Czech Republic, the last living human being making these, because if someone wants to make this, they have to do it themselves. There is no one like professionally doing this the traditional way. There is a single man on the entire planet making these.
Wow.
Now this is a special instrument that you're gonna be extremely underwhelmed. Its purpose is one thing, and that is to fart in a very specific way. So what you do is you wet your fingers, right? You wet your fingers, and you pull on it, and all it does is this. Hold on, let me do, come on. A little bit too wet. Hold on, it's too wet now. Dang it, I ruined it. I could play it the entire time. Hold on, give me a second. We're gonna do it eventually. So, there we go. I did it once. Come on, it's too wet. Hold on, I got a little bit too much water. So it's really its only purpose is you fart, and you're using it as a beat. You're using it like a drum, right? So, come on. I swear it never happened to me. That's what it does. This is legitimately the sound. It only farts. You have to do it at a very specific speed. It's hard. Okay, you can try if you want.
This man clearly has spent his time dedicated to a very important effort.
That's what it does. It is a very, very specific...
Wait, so he actually made something that he wanted this to sound like a fart?
Yes.
I want to meet that. Have you met that person?
I have not personally, no. But like, no, like this is extremely traditional. Like you have no idea, like this is actually in our country for like many, many years. So basically it's like hobos who like travel around and they like get anything that looks like a drum, they stick a horse tail in it and they fart with it. And they have like entire songs dedicated to just using this as a beat.
Well,
the challenge is, can you use this in a champion theme?
I was gonna say, I feel like I should talk to the music team to see, or the sound design team, how they could sample this. And
I was really good at this. I can't believe I'm not doing this now. Oh well. Anyway,
it does look cool.
You can probably use it as a drum.
Is that leather?
That's real leather. You can probably use it as a really bad drum too.
Yeah.
It is handmade. It has like authenticity at the bottom. It was hand painted just for streamers to actually see. Legitimately handmade from the very bottom by a single human, the last living being that knows how to make these.
Wow.
Yeah, it is now in your possession.
Thank you very much.
Insanely difficult to get. Wow. I had to jump through many hoops to find a human being that can make these. It turns out there's one, and that's it.
Well, I think we have something for you too. I don't know where that went.
Oh, there's one of these.
Well,
and there's also one of these.
Oh yes.
You know what? I will first have a look at this. So this is actually, you said this comes from China, right?
Well, I recently went to China and like they have really like, so this is also from China, which is like a Yasuo hat. And what I find really interesting is that most of the time I can't really communicate with players in China, but we are united in our belief that Yasuo players are mouth-breathing, drooling, specimen. And I think that this is a universal understanding.
Yep.
And
so hold on, where are these? So
so this is like something that also I was gonna, and I thought it's just really cool. There's some stuff available there that for like League merch is just super
merch
cool.
is nuts because every time I blinked, there's a new Arcane thing. It started as like, hey, there is a shirt.
Yeah, they definitely
listened. Now there is a ring. Now there's makeup.
Yeah.
Now there's boxing gloves. And I'm like,
the jacket is cool. The Vibe jacket is insane.
Oh, okay, so this is, you shoved that somewhere inside Corky. So that is actually, is it a USB holder?
Yeah.
It has to. That's awesome. That is, so, does it go in the butt? Come on, it's Corky. And it's China. Like, come on. It has to open somewhere.
I think the mouth.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, that is pretty cool. So this is a really cool Corky version, Corky. But also there is a Teemo version that we have here. Okay, this is really awesome.
Yeah, they're so cool.
The merch, like I don't know, people working on merch with these are nuts. And yeah, with Arcane, it goes into the log. So there you got a Teemo. The holder is right there. So we can do a shout out to the merch store now because since Act 3 is out. There's a lot of cool merch you can get right now.
There's some cool stuff.
Oh, such as this. You can. Okay, you know what? We're diving right into it. Hold on.
Huh?
Here's our team.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, we're probably diving into that.
You know what, I'll let you discover this.
All right. Okay. So this is something that I'm getting. The thing is, I need to ship that home somehow.
Yeah, that'll be a bit difficult to take on the plane.
Oh. That is way too big. Oh, okay, you can see the face. See, people asking about Warwick's design. Do you think there's a chance he's gonna become a wolf eventually?
Well, I mean, the wolf is in there, right? It's part of him. It's just that he's, right now he is more like spliced between human and wolf.
Okay. What do you mean right now? I mean, like in the future, that's not gonna be a single case.
Who knows?
Okay, hold on. I think I'm ripping this. I'm ripping this off, right?
I don't even know how you.
I think you are supposed to just like. Oh well, that's really cool packaging, but no more. Oops. Doesn't matter. Come on. It's just. It wouldn't make through the airport anyway. Okay. This, unfortunately, goes off. And this is available on the merch store. I'm pretty sure. This is. Right now. Yeah, right now, guys. Guys, right now. Go buy, sell something.
This was not supposed to be some kind of, but I think it's just actually really, really cool.
Okay.
I did want you to have this.
I am afraid of the size.
Yeah.
I own a lot of cool things. This is gonna be another cool thing.
Hopefully.
Is it like fully intact already? Holy shit. Okay, hold on. So we have. Oh, this is. Am I crazy? Oh, that's why. So this is obviously episode. I can probably tell you the exact frame. This is the frame of right before the first wave of the Jinkers comes in using the cable car. Yep, because it's not even the one where Warwick comes in. Because when Warwick comes in, if using the cable car, the shot is from the other side. Okay, I know my screenshots.
Yep, there's someone.
Okay.
There's someone already calling it out. Yep, the right moment.
Yeah. So what was inside is this? this.
And the whole
I'm gonna put it on my table. There you go.
Alright. That is nuts, though.
It is indeed the one and truly Twitch. as people correctly guessed, or it's also possibly. Oh, it's magnetic. Okay, hold on. The quality is nuts.
Twitch on steroids.
Yeah, it's magnetic, which means it is rel. So this little
Freaky Warwick. That is a good way to put it.
It's a freaky Warwick. He is freaking out. Got a little spike on the back. Oh, that's actually a good question. Since like in the original lore, Singed is unhinged, like completely, like one of my favorite horror characters.
Yeah.
Was there maybe a pitch where he was supposed to be like a lot more horrifying?
Yeah, I mean, so I talked to him a little bit, and I started to talk about him. He really, he's a Piltover scientist, and when he starts to lose, his daughter, he starts to dabble in science, where it's all about like, how can I save her? How can I bring her back? And that's when eventually he gets, kicked out of the academy and banned.
Right.
And he goes down. I mean, he goes down a pretty dark path. But I think there is a really interesting question, like what can you justify, right, in your pursuit of saving lives, and like the things that he has to kind of like. What I always like is that there are people with these political ambitions, like Soko and all these folks, and like what Shimmer is supposed to do for them, empower them, But for Singed is always like. He's playing a long game, right? It's about like how do you create a body how do you use chemtech to enable a human being to be strong enough, resilient enough to survive a transformation that is as brutal as like getting your body kind of spliced together with like technology like this, and so it's all part of it. Like Shimmer starts that process of like the resilience. Vander has like a really powerful just very resilient survivability that also like is relevant, especially when he helps Viktor with the transformation. It's like, can he even survive this? This is so brutal, and of course it helps him. It all helps him in his pursuit of like trying to save his daughter. And so. I always like that connection. That for him, it's very personal, and he's more than happy to work for other people who enable him to pursue also what he's trying to achieve, in their more political machinations.
So with Singed storyline kind of like wrapping up in that specific story arc, is there someone else who's making Shimmer now, or is he still making it?
It depends where Shimmer is like so. Between season 1 and season 2, there are other applications of Shimmer where you see like it's kind of like, It's like the second in Zaun. In Zaun, the thing is like if you invent something and like it, others will be inspired by it and will try to copy it, right? So I think Singe is really like the father of it. But there are now also other applications, right? I mean, you've seen it in some of the, the Noxian, servers and that kind of stuff. And so there'll be, like in my mind, there's many different applications of Shimmer in Zaun in the future, also because there's different things you would want out of it, right? Like how you want to mutate the body and what kind of different advantages you want. Right. Being faster, being stronger, like there's different ways to do it. Shimmer, of course, has a really heavy cost. Like we've seen it also with Decker and there's like a tax you pay. It's like it's.
Oh, can you confirm? Was there Deckard's head in Singe's lab? Nice. I like that.
Yes. Poor guy.
That was really good. Okay, hold on.
I met at this event of the Act 3. I met the voice actor that played Deckard, and it was like,
okay,
hey dude, sorry.
Yeah. Could have been awkward. All right, hold on. We might do gacha on stream now, guys. Okay.
Oh boy.
Riot has a really good. They like gacha systems now, which I mean, something has to pay for. You know what? Hold on. Really good question. Something has to pay for Arcane. There is like people are now talking about like Arcane costing like $250 million or something like that.
That number, by the way, is not accurate.
Okay.
But, like that number in that article is supposed to create headlines.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
it did,
yeah.
But like it included a lot of like marketing costs and whatnot, which has nothing to do with what you spend on the show. But Arcane's still really expensive, right?
Yeah, but like the on the internet, like people are split into like there's one side that's saying like this is way too much, and on the other side is like right, it's not paying the animators enough because like on one side. Like to people, this sounds like a lot of money, which sure it is.
Yeah, it is.
On the other side, if you get something like Pixar, they have like 4 times the cost. But it also makes sense why. It's because like if you do a 3D animation for kids, everything is 3D. You literally have to like model everything. In theory, there are scenes where Fortiche just like paints a 2D picture, and it's like a painting, and it works, which means it's obviously like 10 times cheaper.
Yes.
So realistically, how's the cost on Arcane?
Well, Arcane is really expensive. If you compare it to the typical animated series, Arcane is really, really expensive. But that wasn't the goal. Like the goal that we started Arcane because we said we want to bring the quality of animated movies to serialized content, but kind of find our balance, right? Like you said, I mean, Arcane is much cheaper than any like feature movie because of these efficiencies. I mean, to give you an idea, I think typical in like the bigger animation world, the type of animation that you finish and throw away in like the Hollywood world is really high, sometimes like 40-50%. I think in our version, in our way of working, is like less than 5%. I think
Right.
We have to be very, very careful with what we do. We need to be really like know what we're doing. And the cost. Look, all the budget goes to the talent. Like the budget is just spent on animators, on artists, and like Mark also wrote in one of those, I don't know if it was Reddit or whatever. But I think this is honestly just like good for everyone that works in animation. Like and again the money just goes toward the people that work on the show. So we try to we want to see more high quality animated series with more fidelity, with higher animation budgets. We dream of that. We as artists want that. We as fans want that.
I mean, like the fun thing is like everyone is like, there's a new really expensive skin, so they are buying new yachts and new mansions, and and I'm just sitting here like, nope, I don't think this is happening. I think the cost is going somewhere.
I think we're still living this time with animation where like it's, the rising tide lifts all boats. Like I hope there's going to be other video game studios, or there's going to be other, IPs that look at Arcane and go, hey, maybe we can do that too. There's great IPs out there. There's great characters out there, and I don't know. I think that's really the dream.
I mean, and speaking of gacha, you know what? We got awesome ponies that we can open. Sure, we can play a game. We can play a game where you pick one, I pick one, and we just open them until we get what we want.
Sure.
Okay. Who do you want?
I mean, well, I have got.
I mean, there is Heimerdinger. I was supposed to say there's Heimerdinger.
I kind of want. I don't know. Ambessa looks pretty cool.
Chaser. Okay, so there are rare ones. Okay, there's a for example this. I think this is rare. Everyone else has probably the same kind of drop chance. Okay.
Well, I guess off we go.
So name one because I'm gonna say.
I want Ambessa.
Sure, and I'm going for Jinx. Just so people know, this is what we're looking at. Okay, I'll go for the classic Jinx. Because I'm gonna represent all the people who are absolutely obsessed with Jinx to an unreal degree. Okay, so pick one.
Alright, well, guess we're gonna start.
Off we go. And I believe these are also on the merch store, are they not? Okay, they are. These are, you can get these too. Okay. They might be sold out apparently. If not, the eBay, I guess. No eBay, no eBay. We are not endorsing scalping.
Wait, they're sold out?
Scalping, no, I cannot say that word either, apparently, I don't know. Forget what I said.
Oh boy, I got...
Oh, that's okay, the eye is really good.
Oh yeah. I don't know if people can see that. Hold this up. So go.
I got Mel. Okay, that's pre Super Mage era, I think. Pretty sure. Yes. Yeah.
Civilian made.
Yes, civilian made Mel.
Yes.
All right, round two.
Horse Silver.
All right, round two. I'm going through the middle.
All right.
Taking
more risks.
Yeah, people can probably just ask questions in the meantime. Will Mel be a champion? I don't know. Probably not a question for us, I guess.
That's it's possible. It comes down to what the game team wants.
Wait, what's with Sky? That's a good question. Again, you know what? Never mind. I asked, and you were like, I'm not sure.
Jinx.
Oh my God, you got mine. Doesn't count though. I didn't get it. Right.
Unicorns.
See, is that who I think it is?
I think it is, yeah, that is.
Okay, so we literally just drew each other's.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one. Alright.
Pretty fun. Well,
okay, still doesn't count. No one has a point, okay? Open another one. And you can also talk about... I don't know, do you want to talk about Sky? Because that seems like something that you might be interested in.
Like, a lot of these things are so close to just, like, having just been released. I just kind of want to wait until people... really look at everything, and like I think what's pretty unique to Arcane, honestly, is that the people go so deep, and we've really taken that also into consideration when we made Arcane Season 2. In that, we know that people will pay really close attention, and thus we can be really detailed and and really have very subtle hints, but also be very aware, of what we put and everything. So that's why things sometimes just need a little time.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, sure. That means that Orianna is definitely coming back at some point. I got Ekko. Oh yeah, hold on. So what's the deal with Ekko's hair? Did you ever consider Ekko having the hair that he has in game? Because that was kind of a drastic change in his design.
The mohawk, you mean?
Yeah.
That was something where honestly, just our artist who worked on Ekko for Arcane was like, black hair doesn't work like that, and so here's what that would actually look like,
yeah, I never thought about that.
It's just, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's a fair point, and we should probably consider that. And so, yeah.
Also, I just noticed he actually has the hoverboard on the wing, which is pretty cool. Also, the hoverboard, was that part of him from the beginning? Because originally, I think it appeared in one of the cinematics for Legends of Runeterra, where Jinx, where Ekko and Jinx were kind of putting together a hoverboard.
Yeah, we had, so... there was, in the pilot, there have been so many words in the pilot. Ekko's monobike is not in the pilot anymore, right? Or I think.
No, I think that was in the cinematic. No, hold on. It was in the music video I think it was in the music video. Yes.
But that monobike was actually in the pilot.
Okay.
But there was you just kind of get a short scene when Ekko talks to, Clagger about the job they went on to, and he was kind of loading up his monobike, and so that was in the pilot, but that also ended up on the editorial floor, and so but it was kind of just always this idea that he always tinkers. He always kind of builds these different gadgets and like kind of like the going from like the monobike was more simple to then like him having a hoverboard. So it's like he's kind of like leveling up his his mobility.
Yeah. I also saw someone asked about D-Hex. Which, you know what, that is a sad retcon. Okay, I was hoping that Heimerdinger would go on his crazy arc creating a massive T-Rex.
And over the LOR?
Yeah.
Not quite part of our story.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, can you show me what you got?
I got, let me check.
Is it the Enforcer?
I have the Enforcer.
Oh, you got the rare one!
I have
you got the rare
one.
It's a rare drop.
Amazing.
That's really cool. Okay, last one. Your pick.
I'll take it.
Alright.
Where is Heimer? That's a good question. We haven't gotten Heimer yet.
Yeah. Also Mundo ever consider, because Mundo you can just like shove him into the background and be like
I know.
It's
the thing about like including league champions is that if we half-ass it, people will be more pissed about that than like not including them. I think. Yeah. I see with like Heimer is my favorite character, and I saw the Heimerdinger main subreddit where they're just like, what the fuck, like where are the turrets and I'm like, there's a lot of characters we have to service. I have Caitlyn here,
and I have what's very thematic. We can make them kiss on stream.
Perfect.
Well, you can take my Ambessa then. There you go.
Thank you.
Really good ponies though. Come on, guys, we're having fun, okay?
And the texture of Ekko's hair is actually very detailed.
It is extremely detailed. It is actually properly curly, as it should be. Very amazing. Yes, Arcane is true canon.
Yeah.
Also, has Legends of Runeterra ever affected?
Yes.
Has it actually? What's happening in the story?
Yes, I would say well, Legends of Runeterra was pretty unique in that in League of Legends, there's not many opportunities to really get into like the life of the different regions, right? Like kind of what you said with the different things Heimerdinger would invent. Or like I love the one card where the one where like Heimer dunks a cogwheel into like is it milk or something like that, or like
it fell into his drink or
but it's supposed to be a cookie, but he like
I know what you mean.
Like it's so lovely. It's like these little moments, and so I think LOR is so amazing. They could just like explore these moments with champions, with characters, with like the street life. Like we rarely get into like the street life of any of the different regions, and League of Legends is like Summer's Rift was like there's not really an opportunity to really explore those things. LOR was such a great inspiration for us. Just like let the amazing artists on LOR just explore these moments, and then we just go, here's something that we want to pick up.
So as an example, did the Legends of Runeterra design of Caitlyn affect like how she would look at the end? Because at the end, the design is pretty close.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think ours came first because everything takes so long when you do it on Arcane. Like the VO that's currently part of Warwick's VO was written because he had the rework. Was written in response to Arcane.
Yeah, you were there. I remember.
But it was so many years ago. People were like, oh wow, they continued the. And I was like, no, we actually. Yeah. That was someone that actually. David,
it's the same as Fiddlesticks. When Fiddlesticks got the new voice, he was referencing just Jinx blowing everything up already or power.
Yeah. So that actually was like the Arcane. Story building came first, and then the rework happened from Warwick, but we were still so far out, for release. But so it's it's
someone pointed out Swain too. Swain was ages ago too, and he was already referencing what's gonna happen in the show.
Yeah.
Also, what was the thought behind the gray and like how like sentient it looked?
When we designed Zaun, we really thought about Zaun as like levels. The last drop in like the lanes, what's kind of what that kind of like level is called, would be like level, like 2, like really not that far down.
Right.
And a lot of people are there. There's several layers, beneath that, where there's like the really spooky stuff, the really scary stuff,
Right.
Like you have like the monsters in the sewers, and so like also where the gray would exist, and so the idea is that the deeper you get in Zaun, the more scary things become, and so that there are parts of the gray where, like Bulbuck as a character, you know, on the
my favorite one. People know that. I love Bulbuck.
He was really fun, but we actually designed him to say that he would be basically he's like basically gas form, and like so the body contains him, and so the valves that allow him to speak is actually like kind of shaping words and everything out of like, you know, gas.
That's a really cool one because I remember when Bulbuck died, like the hell fell off, and I was like, there's no blood or anything. Like, what the heck is happening there? Yeah. Okay.
So there was an idea that you have like some kind of, you know, connection between that, where there is some like some creatures that are basically like, you know, gas.
Right.
And so there, you know, that was really an idea. The sound design was really focused on that. It's like that whenever he talks, that it takes a little bit, his voice is a little bit delayed from his motions because it needs to kind of get shaped into words, you know, and also like kind of the sounds around it, as if it sounds like there's something kind of like being pumped, you know.
I mean, the show even mentioned that like his entire race was almost destroyed by the Arcane, which is probably why he's a gas now, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah, it probably makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned cogs before.
Yeah.
What about the cog that Viktor had?
Yeah.
Was there like more? Is there like more meaning behind it?
Well,
because like there was like specifically it like came back 3 times at the beginning, then like when he died, and then at the end for like to wrap it up.
Yes, and also yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so there was like artistic meaning behind it.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything other big that I really want to ask about. Besides just VGUs and stuff on the gameplay side, which we probably can't do anything about. What happens with Ambessa though?
I think the much more interesting question is, well, I mean, this is also an interesting question because Ambessa is really cool. The much more interesting question is, what's going to happen to the House of Madar?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I will not give you an answer, but that is an interesting question.
So it's something that we should theorize about probably now. Oh my god, there's also dang it. There's like when the episode dropped, there's like so many cool details that I noticed from the world building. There's like one where like Savika is falling. There's like everything falling from the ground, and then I look at the like Piltover customs, and I was like, oh my god, you can see like all the regions on the building and stuff like that. Like, was that all Fortiche, or was it you being like, you know, let's put details there? I'll try to find a specific building where I noticed that.
Oh, you mean?
There's okay, so there's a screenshot there. I'm gonna try and find. People are gonna love this. No, actually, it's right above this. I'll try and find this. So, like, when it comes to like this kind of world building, did they basically get like art direction? And they were like,
depends on what.
I'll try. Maybe that was the previous episode. Because so what's the process behind it? Does like Fortiche make assets for the show, or like paint it, and then you watch it, and then you're like, you know what? It would make sense for like this to look like that.
It really depends.
Or is it the other way around?
It really depends. If it's part of the, there's always something to design, and sometimes we see like an extra opportunity to like, you know, have little Easter eggs. Also, like, by the way, you know, we have artists on our team in Los Angeles that work really closely with Fortiche, who really always talked about every piece of every asset that gets created. And they also know our game really well. There's an artist on our LA team called Arnaud Baudry, who used to work at Fortiche for many years, and then moved here and now is with us, knows the game really well. So there's always like this exchange, you know, of like, oh, you could do something really cool here, or like, you know, like when like, you know, Telltale's like the little inclusions of like games or Easter eggs. Like, there's always a kind of an exchange. But Fortiche has always many great ideas. But I'm trying to remember which one you mean.
And a cool question connected to that. Has there ever been any like detail or anything like that the community picked up on, and you were like, well, that wasn't intentional?
I mean, it definitely happens that there's sometimes like made links where you're like, yeah, sure, that sounds convenient.
Okay.
But yeah, it does happen every once in a while.
I'm trying to find some like I'm just like going through the screenshots. Like, I can probably. For example, these guys. Well, I'm gonna change the scene. For example, these guys. Any chance they were inspired by something like the Grey Legion from Runeterra, from Legends of Runeterra?
No, this one is kind of. I mean, it's really like the influence of Singed.
Okay.
You know,
Also, what's the thought behind these?
Well, I mean, it's really like the Victor's work, right? I mean, it's just like the what the glorious evolution. You know?
Okay, so this is like because in theory, again, like this is me connecting things from real life that are probably have nothing to do with this. In real life, I don't know if you know about this, but scientifically, everything is evolving into being a crab. Do you know about that?
It rings a bell.
Yeah,
it rings a bell.
So literally every animal in the world, given enough time, will evolve into a crab. That's like where everything gets. So is this like the glorious final evolution of like human beings?
We actually talked about, so when we talked about this, we talked about like, we want to have something that kind of has a bit of this depiction of like in quotation marks, angels, like something kind of angelic and pure, but then also has just something about it that where you go, it lost some of the expression and the humanity in a way that's a bit eerie, you know, and yeah, I mean that's really what it is, you know. It's like Victor's kind of vision, but also it will deteriorate, you know. Also,
I'm trying to think. I mean, like we could. Oh my god, I'm gonna have such a blast just talking about like, you know, whatever's happening there in space, especially since then they vanish.
Yeah.
I think I found a scene. There it is. Hold on. I'm gonna try and catch it. I found a scene where I was like, all right, that's right. Hold on. People don't see that yet. Hold on. Give me a second. Where like there are like these insane story details. I think that's right before this. Let me go to speed. Doop. There it is. This. Hold on. I'm gonna show. I'm gonna bring it up.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
This, like, when you have a look at the customs, and I'm like...
Yeah.
And then you, like, see...
Yeah.
all the regions.
Yeah.
Is this something that came from Fortiche, or where we were like, you know what, it would be really cool to just this specific detail, just add it in there?
I'm trying to remember. Honestly, so the design, you know, a lot of the world in Piltover, I'm sure you'll have noticed that the animation studio is in Paris and the animators live in Paris. There's a certain inspiration.
Yeah.
This one. So when we talked about the Hex Gates, there's something about where, you know, it kind of it's really like a boost, right? Like kind of like the bigger version of Jayce's acceleration gate, you know. So it gets you kind of going really fast and further, but it also will peter out at some point. So we did kind of talk about how like you can get blasted off in the different regions, and so this was just, you know, this was actually an idea from Fortiche about like kind of showing, okay, you know, what kind of direction would you get, you know, shot toward.
Right.
Yeah.
So is the Hex Claw actually the Hex Claw, or is that like, where did it come from? Because originally, if you remember, in season 1, they are presenting their inventions to Heimerdinger. One of them is the Hex Claw.
Yeah.
The other one is the Atlas Gauntlets.
It came from that, like the inspiration of like the application. Like that was kind of like our, like, oh yeah, it can be really useful, but also it can be really dangerous. So that was the inspiration, and then, you know, like the more organic version and the utility of it that, you know, Victor sees.
And were you afraid of just turning Victor into like more of like an alien Jesus rather than a mechanical
alien Jesus?
I think that's fair. I always like
it is fair. I mean,
just like come on, like come on. Like.
Yeah, to be honest, we just wanted Victor to be more, you know, and to have there like a specific, like really, the symbiosis of technology, but also something that is intrinsically organic, which is, you know, the arcane, which is magic, and so like that, you know, I mean, I really love like the textures also that that we develop, where like it does feel like it grows organically, even though it's metal. You know, it's different from like the things that are being invented by, you know, artificers in Piltover, like in factories or whatever it is. Like, no, this grows organically, and so that was important to us, and that just means that things feel more organic. Right. There's like texture to it, you know. It's like, and so I think also imagining Victor with, you know, a more personality, more unique, you know, design.
I mean, and also looking at this screenshot specifically, beautiful wallpaper that a lot of people are going to use now.
Yeah.
Was the Bible ever involved in writing?
No, I mean,
Victor.
No, I mean, we never wanted to like have this, like, you know, like this direct link to any specific religion. It's just like this idea of like some kind of, you know, Messiah, or like someone that like that people want to follow, you know, and I think that doesn't have to be religious, but of course there is a certain connotation.
Right.
The beauty of the art of, you know, religious art. I mean, yes, I mean there's just absolutely beautiful stuff, right? And the supernatural depictions of it. I mean, it's very, very inspiring.
And also this, a few scenes forward. Was this the idea for the conclusion for the series from the beginning? Like, did you know, like from the beginning, like, you know, we're gonna write a story about Jinx and Vi, and there is gonna be a time loop with Jayce and Viktor?
So we're getting into the territory where, again, it's so close after release that I don't know.
Okay.
I will say this: what we said from the beginning is that when Viktor gets to the height of his powers, he's so powerful that we always said to ourselves that the only person who can defeat Viktor is Viktor.
Okay.
And that it's really about the glorious evolution and the pursuit of that, and like what it actually means to, you know, remove these human elements,
right,
and get to a point where there's nothing left, you know. I mean, again, I don't want to go too deep.
We might get into that at some point, probably. Yeah. I'm trying to find if there's anything else. If people have any specific scenes they want to focus on, sure, we can pitch ideas. Again, you know, I'm gonna bring up another excellent this. When this dropped, it was such a good reveal. I love how the mask is essentially splitting the face too.
Yeah, that was so fun fact.
Yeah, were there multiple versions of this?
So yeah, I mean the artist that actually designed Viktor, his first name is Viktor. So
naturally,
yes, Viktor Moli, amazing artist. I think it was him that had the idea that was like, oh, like what if like this new face kind of gets, you know, his real face gets split in half and this new face comes through. And I was like, holy cow, you know, I mean, what a visual. And so you can always kind of like still look at, you know, human Viktor.
Right.
And so it was really haunting, and yeah, I thought it was so beautiful.
I mean, connected to this, there is a question that I'm pretty sure you can't even like touch on. Where are like future projects, somewhat like the MMO possibly? Are those projects also included in the like thought process of like, you know, let's make a story and like, like, you know, in the future game maybe this can be a boss, or like is it also like included in this?
We're talking all the time, you know. I mean, the people that work on the creative for the MMO, I mean, they've been at Riot forever. I know them really well. We show each other stuff all the time. We inspire each other all the time. We're also just trying to get better with everything that we do at Riot. You know, like it's not easy because like at a big company, every different product, they have their own budgets, their own timelines, their own like needs, what they need for something to read. You know, like when you write VO for a game like League of Legends, you need to be really clear about who someone is as a champion. You can't really be so nuanced, like compare, you know, like relatively speaking. Arcane, it's all about the many layers of a champion, right? So, like, you need to kind of dance a certain dance there, and you can't always do the same thing, you know, in both parts. But we're trying to just get better and better and better, and making sure we talk to each other and inspire each other, and make sure that there is, you know, cohesion. Which, look, but very few games have faced the creative challenge that League does, because very few games even are serviced that long and still change over that. I mean, there's League, there's WoW, I mean, how many games within IP are there like that? You know,
I know WoW very well, and like their story is going for a little bit too long, and they're like, well, we have to retcon a lot now.
It's hard, you know. It's really hard to bring all these things together because they're made in different times, in different like, you know, eras, and with different kind of considerations by different people. You know, there's a lot of things that are really cool creatively, but if you're tasked with like overseeing a project or a story, and you simply would not be able to like successfully do it, then you need to find the version that where you can succeed, where the team that you have can succeed. So it's hard, you know. It's hard. We're trying, you know. We're really trying. Like, we want to be better. We don't want to have jarring experiences, but also like League is a game that evolves and it becomes better over time. And I mean, we all look up screenshots of what League looked like in 2011 or 2010, and like
different times.
You know, it was.
So is there actually someone who like sits through like these scenes? and they're like sitting there, and they're like making sure, like, you know, what you see there, even though it's like gibberish to us, technically, we gotta read that. Like, it makes sense. Is there someone who like makes sure that this actually makes sense?
Yes, as much like. I mean,
to a degree.
Yeah, there are certain symbolism. You know, there's a cohesion. You know, in what certain runes mean, and how certain runes are used throughout the season, throughout both seasons, through the you know, I mentioned Hextech, what they do. So yes, you know.
Okay. Also, who was the one person who pitched singing Heimerdinger?
That was me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I remember that when I pitched that, and people were like, "What?" You know, I was, and this morphed into a different scene. I was really inspired by the Great Dictator speech from Chaplin, because it was like this character that a lot of is always so, you know, funny, and people think he's kind of just a joke, but when he says something really serious, it really has this extra weight. And with him, with Heimer, I thought this, in the lyrics and the juxtaposition of what Jayce is going through, to me that hits really hard, you know, because like when you just like, and Heimerdinger is really learning something, right? Like his arc, I think, is really fascinating. Is that in the beginning of his life in Arcane, he really just thinks about like, well, it needs, you know, the red tape needs to kind of still exist, and like we need to be careful, and things should always have some kind of utility. But he never thinks about like what it's like to just live and to do things for fun and to just like, and he's a bit blind to that. And I think what he discovers, you know, when he gets, you know, going with Ekko and gets to know him better and sees more of Zaun, is that he really discovers that side of things and what science can do, what invention can do. And you know, the lyrics are all about his growth, you know, as a character. Such a different perspective, and you know, even though like the what he says to Ekko in 207. So it's I really like that arc for Heimerdinger, and of course, you know, that's what you also find in the lyrics.
Oh yeah, where is Heimerdinger's Borrow? That's a good. I did not actually think about that one. I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably taking care of some assistant in his lab.
Okay, sure. So, have you ever been affected by fandom? As in,
like what we do?
Like originally you were like, we have some scenes planned for Ekko and Jinx, and then you saw the fandom going crazy, and you were like, maybe you should dial things up a little bit to like, you know, meet the expectations.
For Jinx?
Sure, whatever. Specifically, yeah.
That's a good question.
Like, were you ever like you had a pitch, like you know where the story was going, and then you saw the reaction, and you were like, maybe there should be more intensity or something like that?
I don't think so, because we had to lock in pretty much all the scripts and everything in season 2 even before season 1 was out. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, maybe when we were like in animation, and you like kick off the animators and like how the characters behave, maybe then. But I'm trying to think. I need to think about that a little bit more. I'm sure there were some things. But yeah, most of the stuff in terms of story and script was done by the time Arcane.
Do you care to explain this scene then?
As in,
so what happened from my perspective?
Yeah.
They activated the Arcane. They tapped back into the like parallel gateway, let's call it. The consciousness from Ekko, that was like the present Ekko, left the like alternative Ekko, went back to his own space, and that led the other Ekko, the alternative Ekko, to like occupy that character again. Is it pretty much the thought process?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything crucial, like Ambessa being pregnant, or you know, happens every now and then. Yeah.
Wait,
sure.
you missed that one?
Yep. So what happened?
Really?
So what happened in the Ambessa cinematic?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time going around the details and like you know, look at like how this is all set up. And then there was the scene, like she was kind of like at the very beginning, she was like laying holding her belly because like she had the arrow in. And I was like, yeah, sure, the belly looks bigger, but then again, like a lot of medieval armor has like bigger belly, like especially in something like Dark Souls, you have that. And I was like, doesn't really have to mean anything. It can be just Noxian armor, whatever.
Yeah.
So I just like went crazy or like debating everything that happens, and people are like,
that's fair. That's
and
fair.
people were amazed by the analysis, and then at the end she stands up. It's obvious she's pregnant. I'm not looking at her. I'm like, I talked about her. I'm looking at the background and what's happening there, and like like the place where it's set up. So I missed that she's pregnant.
When that was pitched, like that is a good example of how sometimes pitches can be really scary. I remember when I think it was Arnaud, one of the Fortiche directors, who was like, "Oh, like what if we show her as a pregnant warrior? Like what about it?" And I think the first time some people heard that, they were a bit scared. Like, "Oh my god, that like it's like so difficult to imagine that not be in some way like, oh my god, like I don't know, uncomfortable to watch maybe even, or like, oh, how can we do this, and that was something that I think a lot of people were scared in the beginning to pull that off, because because it's just some of these pitches, like on paper, before they exist, they're hard to imagine,
right?
But in hindsight, it's always like, oh, I mean, there it is. But there's a lot of that throughout Arcane, where you have, before you have seen it, it takes a lot of work and time and belief and trust to even be like, yeah, this could work, and not just be absolutely ridiculous.
So there's a lot of like butterfly iconography. I'm trying to find a screenshot of that, where I think it was right before this. We're in LA, guys. Don't worry, we're not. So there's a lot of like butterfly. There was a scene where like Jayce smashed the core. It went into an explosion of a butterfly. I also grabbed another screenshot. Obviously, this kind of looks like a cocoon.
Yeah.
And when at the end, I'll try to find a specific screenshot. When they pop off, they like go into like butterfly wings again. What's the iconography there about?
Which scene do you mean?
I'll try and find it right here. They hug. Hold on, and they go into a butterfly. Hold on, I'll show you. It's gonna be right here. Oh, come on, it's not there. No, I'm missing it. There is definitely a frame where it's like this frame, and like they go into like the like butterfly wings almost. Yeah. I can't really find it now, and there is, and this specific thing actually happens. I can find you the.
I mean, a lot of the cocoon above is the transformation, right? Yeah. I mean, that's really the theme and like the beauty that comes out of it, but really transformation.
It was. I can actually show you the first time this happened was in episode 3 when he smashes the core. I can show you the specific one, because there's like a lot of people who have like specific theories, like the butterflies can be like a butterfly effect, or it can be like the evolution of the characters.
Yeah, we do have like I actually don't know the English term. Like in German, it's Libelle, the like the double winged insects when Jayce arrives at the top. Dice gets into a 7. Those little insects, you remember those?
Oh yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Which are beautiful, and I love the sound design that they did.
Found it.
Yes.
He smashed the core, goes into a butterfly, and this comes back a lot. I mean, at the beginning, in the flashbacks of Jayce and Viktor, there is the little butterfly at the beginning of like both of those scenes, and like the butterfly comes back, and so like people are really like hyper fixated on this, and they're like, there has to be some deeper meaning behind that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. Is there anything else that's big? Because we might be just covered. We might be just there. Oh, hold on. People are gonna love talking about Maddie. Was Maddie involved as a big bad guy from the beginning, or not big, but bad guy from the beginning?
She definitely was. She definitely was a man I really thought deeply about her involvement, and I think she really we all, honestly, we all just like love the idea that like Ambessa is just so, her strategies are so like anything is fair in and if it's physical, if it's just planting the right people, if it's creating the right relationships, and that was just it was really fun to cook that up, and that was part of it.
Okay. So because Maddie when she died,
In the venue, that was the...
When we saw it live, like people will not notice, when we saw it live, when Maddie died, the entire theater, like 4,000 people, everyone cheered. It was amazing. And I love when you have a satisfying death. Because like in Arcane, there is a lot of deaths where people are like, how can Jinx die? I'm so mad now. But then, you know, but people don't realize that primal emotion is awesome to feel. Maybe I'm just morbid. I like when good characters die.
Well,
because mortality is kind of like the driving force that we all have. If we would be immortal, no one would care about anything. So like when a good character dies, I'm like, hell yeah.
You know, and Maddie's, so the scene I think is really fun. You know, I think, I don't know if I told you, but someone else, like, the scene used to be longer, but you know, like kind of like the drawn out, like Maddie aiming everything. But I remember asking Fortiche, like, make this really snappy, so it feels like this super quick decision. You know, from Maddie's like, all right, and you know.
Yeah, because right after
it's done, and it happens really.
For context, yep, we got this, which is right after.
Yeah, and she doesn't wait. She just like pulls.
I appreciated your warmth. Goes immediate into a shot.
Yeah.
Immediately followed by, oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Immediately followed by this.
Yep.
And there was like I think it was like 2-second window. There was like no way to breathe before after she said the line.
Yeah.
Oh my god, everyone was excited.
Yeah, in the venue it was pretty crazy. There was a strong reaction to that. That was interesting to experience that.
And yeah, of course, the one that I'm gonna be really careful about the frames that I'm gonna pull from that. The one thing people went wild about, obviously. I'm gonna be very, very, very careful. So, how much? I'm really trying to find a screenshot that I can use. Okay, you know what? I think this is pretty good.
I think we can use it.
Yeah, sure. How much of this was Fortiche? How much of this was Riot?
That was Fortiche.
Okay.
That was French people being in French.
Okay.
And like we said, I think we said it before.
Yeah.
This is
was supposed to be longer. Yeah.
This is the shorter version because there was serious considerations around ratings potentially cutting off a significant part of the League of Legends audience. Yes. Because, I mean, again, it's another interesting thing about, like, ratings and, like, you know, like, every country has a slightly different, you know, like, what's allowed and what's not. I mean, like, you walk around in France, and there's just, like, naked people in ads and bus stops and everywhere.
I mean,
there's just no, you know, that doesn't fly.
The Olympics happened, which got a little bit of criticism because French people are very...
free. They're very free.
Yeah, sure, that's fair.
You know, they live life and appreciate all the beauty in nature.
Yes, sure. In all of us. Inside all of us.
Yes.
Also, I loved how people freaked out about this. It's such a small thing.
Yeah.
But when this popped up, people freaked out. Like, hey, here's Jinx. Like, we have never seen her before. Like, see her crazy, see her mad, sure. See her unbound like that in like a literal sense.
Yeah.
That reaction was crazy. Was that was it Fortiche? Where like, you know, let's portray let's portray her differently.
Well, I mean, the story we crafted, you know, in LA. I'm trying to think the hair down, if that was Fortiche or in LA. I can't remember. I think it may have been an idea of Fortiche. I can't remember, but like, you know, the story we crafted there. And look, I mean, there's a big change happening in Jinx throughout season 2. You know, where, dude, and again, we're so fresh after the release. I don't want to go too deep, but like.
I mean, Isha's responsible for that.
Well, I mean, for the first time, Jinx experiences what it's like to be the big sister. Mm-hmm. You know, which so much of what we see in the beginning of Arcane, that is not the case.
Yep.
You can argue in many ways, also toward the very, very end. You know, there is, you know, she does what the big sister does.
Yep.
And there's a true transformation. I think that you see part of that, you know, here. And I thought it's just really beautiful. And
with that, I think we're gonna be like slowly wrapping up now. Would make sense, which means I'm gonna find an awesome.
Sorry,
awesome
I think I hit the microphone. I apologize.
Don't worry, guys can handle it.
They can handle it? Alright.
I can handle it.
I can handle it.
One final thing that we can probably talk about.
Yeah.
The transformation of Caitlyn.
Yes, Pirate Caitlyn.
Pirate Caitlyn, amazing. I genuinely love this. It's so good. Like,
She's such a badass.
She is. And I don't even care that she doesn't have a pirate skin in game, okay? I don't even care. Just look, like maybe eventually, genuinely what I believe is gonna happen, there's a lot of characters who have like different visuals now, even Warwick now. I would not be surprised if all of these become skins now. Like you have like, because like this is like an entirely different character from what we have had before.
Yeah.
As in like.
Well, there's just, you change throughout the story,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Because like you took, people are saying Samira. People took, because you took a character, right, that like people know, they love, and you literally transform them into an entire new character. But you're still trying to serve the original audience.
Yeah.
Which I assume that's something that was taken into consideration. Like when you were like sitting there and you're like, you know what, by the end of the season, she's gonna lose an eye. And people are gonna like that, I guess.
Well, we don't necessarily think about do people like it or not. We think about, is it the right consequence for the story?
Right.
Is it like, what happens when Caitlyn faces off with someone like Ambessa? I mean, and like also the decisions. It's, you know, story is. I think people sometimes they think about like, oh, I love a certain character from a movie or a show because of like their design. Like if you want to tell me that, you know, Luke Skywalker is an awesome character because he wears a white robe, I'm like, that's false. It's because of his decisions.
Right.
It's the choices that he makes that makes you like love characters, and you know that's fun. That's really fundamental to storytelling. And so the choices that Caitlyn makes now are so different, and she is willing to take risks and sacrifice parts of herself, you know, now for other people or for Piltover or for just what's right. Like, yeah, if I lose, like, okay, I have an opportunity in this moment to weaken Ambessa and I'm going to lose an eye. That's a calculation that I make in the moment, and that's it. And I just think that's cool about her, you know, and there's like...
Actually, connected to that, exactly. People did actually point out a really cool one. What about the hat?
Yeah. The Caitlyn hat?
Yep. Is that something that like you know might happen later on?
I mean, she has a hat.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we just always were like, this doesn't really fit this version she becomes. I don't know, but yeah, I think it was not the version that we liked.
Okay.
To be honest.
So you know what? Sure, later she's gonna do something.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. And I think that might be it. People are still asking if Jinx is alive. I love that. Which again, you know, it's that's what the audience is. But yeah, I think that might be us wrapping up. Do you have any final words that you wanna say?
Sure. I mean, well, first of all, I'm always, well, I'll be really honest, I guess. There always needs to be a bit of space, you know, between what you do, you know, and what I do. Because, like, I never want to get to a point where, like, it's good that there's criticism. It's good that there's a critical view on the things that we do. We really try to pay attention. Like we just like League. You know, we love League. We love these characters. We want to tell the stories that we want to see, and so in order to succeed, we need to listen to our audience. You know, but we also need to have like a point of view. We need to have a vision. We need to take risks. We need to be bold, and so it's a delicate balance. You know, we're like. I think these things tend to fail when like there's people are like too much in cahoots, you know, or too like trying to help each other. We should never do that.
Right.
So I just want to say like we really, you know, we're not trying to like shove anything down anyone's throat. We want to just like find what makes these champions cool and tell their stories, and we want to be true to, you know, the regions that people fell in love with. But we also like what I also think is really important is that we translate our stories and our characters in a way where they can stand up to like the best storytelling in the world, and sometimes that means like certain updates, you know, because for a certain story or for like because also just like the game has evolved over time. Characters sometimes are simply outdated or too, you know, archetypal or too, you know, like that. But there's an essence about a character that we all love, right? and that people love. And so it's not easy, you know, but we're not doing this. We're doing this because like we want to watch these stories, you know, like I spent 9 years on this project, you know, it's like there's a chunk of my life I won't get back because like I do this because I love this. So everyone that works on this show.
So what you're saying is that you're gonna lose a lot more life because you're not done.
Yeah. I mean, look, we want to get this right. You know, we want to get this right. We're very lucky that we get the support from Riot, where they're just like, just make our players happy. And so we'll keep doing that. You know, like we listen. Yeah, and we're just starting. You know, so that's my job, to make sure we do a good job with this IP and the characters that everyone here, and I know you also really love.
Yes, I know this. I love this universe very much. People know that.
Yeah, and you know, for someone who says I don't think players are happy, well, sorry.
I don't know about that.
Well, but look, let me answer it. I mean, to those who are not happy, sorry that we didn't hit what you wanted, but there's simply no way where we can please everybody, and we're trying our best, you know, to make as many players as possible happy. But again, we need to follow also our own compass, you know, like this, at the end of the day, we need to be the shepherds of this IP and of this game. And this stuff, creative is hard, you know. So we'll keep doing that, and if that means that, you know, we'll ruffle some feathers, sometimes that's simply part of it, and that's okay.
All right. As Viktor would say, you know, sometimes our great, how was it? Greatest good comes from greatest evil.
Well, yes, it's true. It's true.
To some degree, or whatever. Yeah.
It is the human element. It is the human element. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there'll be more stuff. Our every day is just developing the next stories.
Yeah, as someone said, as Viktor said, I'm dead. The famous line.
There it is.
Yep. So everyone should be aware that, yep, I don't think we're done, but you know, nothing confirmed, nothing denied yet.
Okay, I'll give you a little something, because someone says, give us a hint on the next show. Just because I want to make sure that...
there are expectations.
So I'll tell you this.
Okay.
I'll tell you this. When I looked at, there was like 2 or 3 bigger threads on Reddit when people were like, oh, like, they're going to do more shows, more movies, what would be the focal points, right? Pretty much all the like top voted directions are the ones we're exploring.
Okay.
So we are investing quite a bit in Noxus, Ionia, Demacia. We start really with character stories.
Okay.
But I'm very confident that we're investing in the right stories, because simply those were the answers that we have seen in these threads. And because we have a lot of data. We know, you know, which characters our audience like and play a lot. Not, you know, it takes quite some effort to understand the difference between people picking champions because they win versus people picking champions because they like them, right?
Right.
But we pay attention to that. So we don't just go with who's popular because they win, but like, okay, where's resonance, and how do you define resonance? But I'm very confident that we're looking at the right regions where there's just a lot of fandom, a lot of interest, and I guess that's where I'll leave it.
All right. Well, with that,
anything from you? Any other thing that I should keep in mind, or that we?
You know, I went into this thinking like, you know what? So Arcane 1, the season 1 was like legitimately the best thing I've ever seen. As in, like, doesn't even matter if it's a TV show, doesn't even matter if it's like a film, movie, doesn't matter. It's like a thing that you put on a screen. That's the best thing I've ever seen. But I am slightly biased because I know the universe, I know the world, I know like as like these things are happening, there's something else happening somewhere else, and I kind of like know the connections.
Yeah.
Season 2 dropped. I don't think that changed. Now what's amazing is that what you did, because original Viktor was my favorite character as an example, like in the entirety of League. You took original Viktor, you took him away, you replaced him with something that's equally good. And that is the crazy thing. That's why Arcane is so good. There were amazing stories before, there are amazing stories now. They are different stories, but they are on equal level of just excellence. And that I have never seen anyone achieve before. I don't know what you take from that.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. Look, we always try, you know. I can definitely sense there's some people who are like, where's my wolf Warwick?
Yeah.
It's simply, we needed to do what we needed to do for the story. Because it was important that like you understand where it's not a, you know, that there is a part of Vander, there is that humanity left in there. And for Viktor, again, you know, we spoke about like how we, you know, the organic kind of shapes, the organic kind of, how do you say that? Like the symbiosis between technology, but also this organic entity, which is magic, the arcane.
Right.
That simply call for like certain art decisions. It's, you know, I often think about, you know, how other people have done it in the past. When I think about the many different iterations of like Batman, what, you know, the visuals, and the character design, and or Spider-Man, like what kind of liberties they take and what needs to be a truth.
Right.
And there's never really like one clear answer about like what can change and what cannot change, right? Like I'm sure at some point someone said like you can never change Wolverine's yellow outfit, right? And lo and behold, we are there now.
Yeah.
Like for a long time, people were like, that cannot be the depiction that we will choose, right? And so it is subjective, you know. Again, we're really trying. I'm happy that, you know, on Viktor that you feel like we ended in a place where we respected kind of like the core. We'll always try. We'll always try.
I just saw this August in the chat asking why would you hurt his girl? Right there.
We honestly just made Arcane to break August's spirit.
Oh, is that why in that one scene with the hair she kind of looked like Briar?
Look,
with feet specifically.
I see. You know, I don't know, August. I don't know why, but you know, it is wild to think back to that. It's crazy how long ago this was now. You know, and I remember when we worked on Jinx and Vi back then, and I always, when we worked on Arcane, I always went back to, you know, Kate D'Souza, who did like the original design for Jinx, and Paul Kwan, the original design for Vi, and August, and always asked like, hey, like, are we messing anything up here, you know? And it was always really important. What's interesting is like the perspective of the original game designers and artists and people that work on these champions, and then the audience kind of interpretation are not always. Sometimes they go into wildly different directions, right? Blitzcrank was never supposed to be funny or cute or derpy. He was supposed to be this murder machine, you know, exterminate. Yeah. And people just went like, oh,
that's right. I forgot about the fact that he has those quotes.
Yeah, like it's like his waddle. It's just people are just like, he doesn't really know what he's saying. You know, he doesn't mean it. He's kind of cute. He thinks he can hurt anyone. And so like, you know, like I remember when I talked to Jeff, who was I think the person that really like invented Yordles back then, and Timo, you know, and he was like, yeah, he was just supposed to be he never was supposed to really be like this pest, this Satan, you know, he was just like this scout. And so the question then is like, what do you go with, you know, and so, but it's wild to think back to these things, you know. Fun fact, I remember when Paul Kwan was drawing the first like concepts for Vi, and she didn't have a name at that point. And I remember looking over his shoulder, and I was working on music at the time. Looked over his shoulder, and for some reason I said to him, she kind of looks like a violet to me. And he went, And then but we never didn't speak about this again. And then
that kind of sounds like a Vander quote from Abara, right?
Well, then and then months later, she started to kind of be more a serious thing as a champion, and then her name was Vi. And I actually, to this day, I don't know if my statement influenced it at all, or if that
I think you were just Vander now. I think you just like said her name, and you're like, but there it is.
It's actually possible that actually never influenced it. I don't actually know. Maybe August knows. But I said that to Paul, who was just, you know, who did the visuals. But I just kind of, because then it was Vi, I just stuck with that in my head. So I was like, you know what? For me, but I don't actually know. I don't actually know. I don't actually know if there is a direct connection. And so I kind of honestly, I'm okay with not knowing, because in my head I'm like, totally there's. But that was the thing.
Well, yeah, you're officially
so many years ago. It's like,
hold on. There is actually August right here.
12 years ago.
Tattoo.
High ranking. Oh, okay. Okay.
Because I believe, didn't Vi have a tattoo on her face because she was like the champion number 100 and something? Like.
Oh, I can't even remember. August.
What is
was
that?
no.
6? Bye.
But that's interesting. So I guess maybe someone or maybe Paul or whatever like forwarded or other someone else suggested Violet was possible too.
No, I think actually Jayce was 100 because Jayce was like, let's make a champion that's everything because it's number 100.
Making champion names is really hard. They always have like a work in progress title,
right?
And no matter what the team chooses, everyone else is gonna go, well, that's not cool because it's like the problem of like every new name. You know, I think like Jayce was called Apollo as a work in progress name, and then it was Jayce, and everyone just went like, what? Why is he? Like everyone complained, but like you just need to get used to it sometimes. You know?
Oh, there you go. There's the so the original idea was that she had a tattoo of a number on her face, and she got the nickname Vi from the number on her face. Okay. That's where it originally started.
Yeah.
Which means maybe you're not Bender, I guess.
So we did, for example, a small thing that we did on Vi on the design is that it was something on me and maybe I don't know people like this, but I did want to make the tattoo a little smaller, just so that when you see her like on the screen a lot and like close-ups,
right? And
you always have this massive.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Can we push it so like it's a little bit smaller, so like it's kind of like on like when it's kind of like a wider shot or medium shot, it's kind of like a beauty mark.
Yeah.
You can kind of like your eyes can kind of disregard it, so it's not always this. So like there's like small things you do when you kind of consider like, hey, now you're gonna look at someone's face all the time, you know. But we still wanted to respect that it's there. So like you try to capture the truth of the character. You know? Like you make a little. But,
Alrighty. Are we shutting down the stream or are we just like not?
Just pause.
Yeah, we can just pause as in we're gonna do like be right back because we're gonna play.
Not bad.
Yeah, we're at 10,000.
You're becoming a streamer now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, with my 300 audience normally. Yeah, sure.
I mean,
here we are.
This is
See, I don't know if you're leaving. This is what I'm gonna do now. We're gonna just play. What are we playing actually?
TFT.
Okay, we're playing
the new
TFT.
set, and then we will play the Jinx.
Yeah, the Jinx minigame. So what I'm probably gonna do, I'm literally just gonna walk around and look at Easter eggs.
Oh, like the way you're in the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. So it really important that we hear what people think about this because the team worked really hard to to craft something there, to just be able to for the first time step into like kind of like the world of League, and I think it's a really cool exploration. It's kind of see what we take away from it if we want to do more of this.
Right.
If people like it, but yeah, it's just another like a deeper look into locations of the world of Arcane.
And again, gotta be more probably.